There, can you hear me now? All right, good. Thanks, Floyd. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get in here. There's 4 in here now. Thank you, Michael. Gonna go over some things with this Zino and the no Wi-Fi that plagues everybody. Not everybody, but it's like the biggest plague that so far nobody can fully fix, including myself, but I found something new, so hopefully this helps a few people. 9 people. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And before I get into the Xenos, first I want to give a shout out. Want to give a shout out to, I've always kept my channel hidden. My family, everybody knows I do it, but I refuse to ever tell anybody about my channel. So I shared it with my brother. And I imagine he's watching right now, probably with my other brother, since they're both in Virginia with my mom. So I'm going to give a shout out to my brother Woody and my brother Paul, if you're watching with him. And Woody, I've got my coffee cup. He purchased this for me and gave it to me since he noticed in my videos that I always have a different coffee cup. So shout out to them. And I just also want to remind everybody, this issue going on with my mom. I want to thank everybody for the kind words and the prayers. Anytime I post something or anything like that, somebody always has something kind to say and remembers what my family's going through right now with my mom. So thank you very much. And with that being said, don't forget, join my RC Hobby Shopper group on Facebook. I'll put a link to that after I do this live, and you can go join there. And it's all Banggood and GearBest affiliate stuff, and proceeds to that go to things like Children's Cancer Hospital and things like that, cancer centers. And the only donations I do are for free care funds. So join those groups, make your purchases. Commissions will come in about 40 to 45 days after you make a purchase. And then once I reach my goal, then I make my donation. So far I've done a donation of $1,000 to one charity and $700 to another charity because I did not meet my $1,000 goal on that second one. But my next charity is hopefully to do Christmas gifts for local, less fortunate kids. And also, if I could hopefully do something to where I could visit a hospital, maybe with some of my local YouTube channel guys, if they want to join me and go visit and give gifts to these kids who have to spend Christmas time in the hospital with cancer. So enough said about that. You guys all know that's what I'm about. So let's get into talking about this issue with the Zino. And first, I'll give a real quick shout out to the ones of you that are in here. Jaybird Drone, Floyd Vincent, Michael J, AJ Alvarez, George Zavatsky, and I think I said that right, Paul Berliner, Michael J, I already got you, and Paulino, Parks and Tech, hey Josh, and Neto Images, and Lan Lan, we'll leave it at Lan. But anyhow, so if you could see my office right now, I have these everywhere. I have a bunch of them that I'm working on. I've got four of them in here, and I have 2 down on my workbench. So that's one reason you're not going to be seeing much content, because I have to get these done. Some of them are waiting on things. Some of them I'm just stuck. But 2 of them are about done and getting ready to finally get out of here. But the biggest issue that I get that gets me stumped is when you have the no Wi-Fi. So when you turn on, we'll do this one because this one has no Wi-Fi. When you turn them on, and you follow this light, and it just keeps flashing. So when it keeps flashing, that's an automatic given that you are not transmitting any Wi-Fi. So you need that Wi-Fi in order to fly, obviously, and bind to your controller. So without that, you can't connect your controller. You will not be able to connect to your phone. So that's the first thing I do is I just use my device. I go into my Wi-Fi settings in my device, and then if I don't see the Wi-Fi there, I'm not going to see it on my controller. So there's no use of even trying. So as long as you have this red flashing light, you are not going to have any Wi-Fi whatsoever. So you got to figure that out. And the way to figure that out, first off, is you've got to troubleshoot a few things. If your gimbal, if you notice, this one's working fine. It completely stabilizes and does what it should. It's not limp. It stays perfectly stiff. If you turn it on and it's flopping around, then you have a different issue. And that's going to be one of your ribbon cables to the gimbal or the camera. And you're not gonna have any any Wi-Fi. So with this quad, no camera, no Wi-Fi, no gimbal function, usually no Wi-Fi. So for this one, this is what I've got. And I get this, I've got this several times. And sometimes I just get lucky and I can get it to get Wi-Fi. But I never have fully known exactly what I did because I throw so much firmware at it. And that's how you get it to come back. I've been taking older versions, complete packages of firmware, your FC, your gimbal, your camera firmware, taking those whole packages from early updates and installing those into the quad. And then all of a sudden I've got a solid red light. So doing that still isn't the fix, because then I run into something else. So I've done that on this one. And if you watch the light, it stays solid. Camera, everything is functioning perfectly. And we have Wi-Fi transmitting. So after I do that and I get that light, it says I'm transmitting Wi-Fi, but then when I go to my device, I have no Wi-Fi. So that stumped me for a while. So then the fix that I found, and this is where I hope it really helps you guys. And if you need any old firmware, just message me. I'll give it to you. I'll post it in one of the groups. But I go, far back into the Wi-Fi and then work my way up. And then eventually, on some occasions, I can transmit the Wi-Fi solid red light. So then when I've done that and I do not have any Wi-Fi yet, then I started focusing on just the camera firmware itself, because that interacts with your Wi-Fi transmission. So oddly enough, the one I have found that pretty much fixes them all is camera version 0.3.5. No, 0.3.4. That seems to be the fix, and I do not know why. I don't know if it's older hardware, if that's the original firmware that the quad had, but that has been the fix. Now, the only way to do that is if you do my downgrade steps, where you take the, say, for that case, it's going to be your 0.3.5 ASD camera file. That's your IT folder. You're going to have the 0.3.5 ASD file, and then you're going to have the 0.3.4 AMBA file. Put those together inside your SD card, formatted FAT32, no other files, nothing else on the card but those two files right there. Put the SD card in the slot, and all of a sudden you'll see that light starts flashing. It's installing the firmware, and then all of a sudden you have Wi-Fi. So why that is, I have no idea. It's just something I have thrown every piece of firmware at these, and it's just something I luckily stumbled onto. So this happened about 2 weeks ago. So the reason I still have this one is that's the only camera firmware it will take. As soon as I try to update it to current firmware, I lose that Wi-Fi. I still get a solid red light, but I lose the Wi-Fi on my device, and I cannot connect with the controller. So, I'll go to 3.5, no Wi-Fi, 3.6, no Wi-Fi, 3.8, no Wi-Fi. I go back down to 3.4 with my downgrade process that I just told you about, and then the Wi-Fi comes back. So worst case scenario, if I don't solve this, you're just stuck with camera firmware 0.3.4. Worst case being you're stuck with that. You can update everything else to current except for the camera firmware, and then you'll be able to simply at least fly your quad versus having it sit and collect dust. So I can't explain why, but that's the fix. So any of you that are having this problem where you have the flashing red light, or even if you have a solid light and you have no Wi-Fi, the first thing to do is throw old firmware at it and see if you can get that red light to go solid. You may be able to just go straight to doing the downgrade process to 0.3.4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to all those pieces of firmware for the camera firmware. I'm going to do the firmware to downgrade from 0.3.8 to 3.6, and then from 3.6 to 3.5, and then from 3.5 to 3.4. And you can try downgrading to each one of those and see if you gain your Wi-Fi. None of it makes sense, but it works. So this isn't a fix for everybody. If 10 of you are watching and you have this issue, it might be a fix for 3 of you. I don't know, because it's not a fix in all of the ones that I've worked on. Like I've said, I've got some to where I've fixed them, and then I can update them to current. And then I've got this one where I'm stuck on 0.3.4. So to me, I think it might be a hardware issue, because a lot of people lately have been updating to this 0.3.8, and then instantly they have no Wi-Fi. This is just going off of what people message me and tell me, or what they say in the comments to my videos. But after doing that, they lose their Wi-Fi, and then they cannot get it back no matter what they do. So for those of you who have that issue, I think this might actually be the fix for you, to downgrade and see if you can get that Wi-Fi back. So it might not be just downgrading to your previous version. You might have to keep going down as far as 0.3.4 until you get it right. So that's why I'm going to include a link for all of those versions, and hopefully it'll fix whatever your problem is with your Wi-Fi. But again, I just want to point out, make sure the gimbal is locked. It's solid. It's working as it should, because then we know the cables are fine. If there's any play in that whatsoever, your issue is something else, and this is not the fix for you. So everything fires up, sounds right, looks right, except for that flashing light. This might help you out. So let's give that a shot, and download the links, and please comment and let me know if this helps you, because then maybe some of your comments and things like that, I can also figure out why I can't upgrade on this one here, why I can't upgrade above 0.3.4. So that's all I wanted to cover on that, and I hope it makes sense. Let me turn these off. I hope it makes sense, because it really doesn't make sense to me. But that's it for that. Before I move on to the next thing I want to talk about, any questions on that? And I'm just going to run through some of the comments. And then if you have any questions on what I just said, throw in the comment and I'll try to answer it. Or if you have a suggestion that might be able to help me out, put that out there. I don't know every fix on these. I can fix 90% of the problems with the Zino, but this is the one that seems to have everybody stumped. And when you have no Wi-Fi, it just seems to be, it could be 5 different things that are causing this issue. And that's the one thing I hate about this quad. It's very quirky when it comes to that. You like the shirt, Josh? It's pretty accurate. Just like for the Zino Pro, one of the first things I'm going to do is open that up, and that voids the warranty. So, but even the things I've done with the Paradenofi, people always say stuff about the warranty. I don't care about the warranty. I'd rather fix my own stuff versus sending it to China or sending it to some other place to have it fixed. Why the older packs? What do you mean, why the older packs, Michael? I don't know what you're talking about. Flying goat Tim. Yes, obviously some sort of bug, but trying to figure that out is the hard part. And the funniest thing you just said is Hubsan going to address this. I'm sorry, Hubsan. I like this quad mainly for the purpose of what I do. I like tinkering and stuff like that. When it works, it's a great quad. But for all the people that are having problems, those are the ones I feel sorry for. And that's where I get a little ticked off, because Hubsan's the worst company as far as any type of customer service. So if you have a warranty issue, if you have a question, if anything, they just don't respond. They're one of the, I don't know what's happened with them, but they're one of the worst companies to deal with when you need any type of help. You can offer all the suggestions you want. I can make these videos and show these problems. They're not paying attention. They're not looking. They're not reaching out to you and asking for data or anything like that. When doing this, say the Fluidity Flight Aviator, the control stick, the yoke, when I was working on that and doing that, the company reached out to me. They asked me questions after my video. They asked me for input, for their firmware updates and stuff like that. Now they've got a firmware update for the controller, and they have a new app update, and that's going to be the next content on my channel. So those are the type of companies that are great, because they actually do listen to the consumer or YouTube channels, and try to fix or improve the product. So to answer your question, as far as is Hubsan going to address it, Hubsan's not going to address anything. They do make good improvements. We've got the Hubsan Zino Pro, and as you can see, one thing I've always said about it is ventilation, overheating. Well, all of a sudden now they have a cooling fan in there, and I'm not saying it's because of me, but obviously it was needed, and they put a cooling fan in it. So they do listen to some things, but me sitting here talking about this right here, they're definitely not going to listen to it. And I've probably made enough bad blood with them to where they probably don't even watch my channel. Dennis, have you gotten anything out of yours? That might be a good example right there. There's a few days between messages. It's China time versus our time. And of course, they want a whole bunch of videos. They want a whole bunch of pictures. They want to waste your time. And then a simple conversation takes a week to 2 weeks long. But are you getting anywhere with that, Dennis? Nope, nothing. See, that point proven right there. And you probably will get nowhere with it. Basically, if your quad is done and you don't know how to fix it and you're not getting any help from them, if you want to buy another one and make that a parts quad. That's what I tell people. And if I can't fix it, then that's exactly what I'm going to tell people. With all the quads I have now, just the Zinos alone, it's 41 repairs that I've done. I'm not done with them all, but if I complete all these, it'll be 41 that I fixed. There's only been one that I could not completely fix, and I graciously had somebody from Ireland donate his crashed Zino, and we were able to transplant parts and get a fully functioning Zino for the person that crashed theirs and had broken legs and such. So that one is not a win for me, but thanks to somebody sending me a donor quad, I was able to get that repair done. So I'm probably fixing more Zinos than Hubsan is, just for the fact that they're not listening and they're not responding. Okay, back to Michael when I was asking. Let me go back to your original comment, Michael. Sorry. Okay, you said why the older packs? Oh, so okay, you're talking about the firmware. I don't know. That's where I think it might be something to do with the hardware. If you've been watching any of my videos, you'll see where I've picked up on the fact that they're using a different camera. That's when you have a Zino versus a Zino Y. The Zino Y is strictly just a different camera. It doesn't require any different firmware or anything like that. So we thought, but that very well could be possible. Maybe the Zino Y doesn't like certain firmwares, and the only way you can tell is if you scan your QR code on the side. It'll tell you if you have a Zino or a Zino Y. So far, I've only had 2 Zino Ys. So the firmware, the old or new firmware, so far has been fine on both of them. I can't find anything that really ties to one or the other. So why the old firmware fix is the solution, I have no idea what to tell you there, Michael. And going back on the changes of the hardware, you've got the Zino, you've got the Zino Y. And I see a lot of people now, ever since I started talking about the Zino Y, I see a lot of people saying I have the Zino Y. It doesn't really matter if you have the Zino Y. It's still going to use the same parts and all that, from what I can tell so far. So that has not been proven to be anything different other than the camera. And the only thing different is your servo motors on the gimbal, the ribbon cable. It has a different plug. and a different ribbon cable. So that is the only difference that I have found with the Zino Y. And I have taken these things apart so many times and worked on, like I've said, almost 41 of them. So I'm not finding anything major other than that camera. So it doesn't matter if you have Zino or Zino Y. You really don't need to pronunciate the Y part of it. So that's one change. And then the other change is the board. I don't know if this one has it. This one does not have it, and this one still has the cover on it. But right here on the board, this one is the original older style. And then on the newer boards, we have the jack that could be used for some sort of an optical device. And I have not opened up my Zino Pro to even see if that's on there or being utilized. So I don't know, but that's another hardware change, and that right there could be affecting the firmware as well. So that could be a reason why we go back to the older firmware and able to get your Wi-Fi. But the point is here, if this helps you guys, it gets you up and flying. That's the main important part of it. It's better than just having one that sits like a dead turd and collects dust or becomes your doorstop. So the main goal is just to get you flying. You might not have your perfect 4K, the older firmware versions. I don't remember how great 3.4 was. As far as I recall, it wasn't terrible, so you'll still have a good quad. So that's just what I'm thinking. It's just all about getting you back up and flying versus having it sitting on a shelf or back in the box. And that's it. I think we covered it all for the Zino. And I know people want to talk about Zino Pro, don't you? And I know you want to see it. All those 41. Mike, Chris, those 41, oh no, those 40, Mike, Kenny, those 41, they're not all crashes. Sometimes people just send them to me to do firmware updates. We know how crazy the firmware updates are. And some people, this is totally new to them. They're not computer savvy, or they only have Macs, and you can't do it on a Mac. So sometimes they are just for update purposes only. And I love those because you send it to me, I fix it the day I get it, and I ship it out the very next day back to you. So, and again, I do not charge anything for working on these quads. Anybody that's given me anything, it's strictly been donation. So I never ask for any type of money or actual dollar amount. People have just been very generous in that. And sometimes people just send gifts. And I like those too. I've gotten a hat, I've gotten little things that somebody makes for me, quad accessories, stuff like that. I like doing it. That's why I do it. So yeah, some of them are just to do firmware updates. Some of them are crashes. You'd be surprised to how many I get where people get them out of the box, charge up that battery, and they turn them on inside the house and they crash them inside the house. I don't know. I wish I would have kept a log of what happened to every single one, because it's amazing how many people are trying to fly these in their house, and it's just not, it doesn't have like tripod mode or anything like that. So you cannot fly this in your house safely. It's too wild and risky, and it's just dangerous. I mean, these props can really cut you. So a lot of them have been crashes, but not all of them. Some of them, people do a firmware update and they lose their Wi-Fi. That's what I'm dealing with. That's what I'm left with right now, with all of them that I have. The other ones are they pressed the back of the camera thinking that it was a reset button, which we all know is not a reset button. It's the cable plug that you're just reconnecting that plug, and then they break that cable. So I've done a lot of those too. I keep those cables stocked up because that seems to be the biggest thing that I repair. So nope, not all crashes. Sometimes they're just defects out of the box. Sometimes they're a crash. Sometimes they just need a firmware update, or sometimes they're a result of a bad firmware update. So some of it's user, some of it's not. So it's been pretty fairly equal as to defect or customer use. I just received my Pro. I've been in Virginia, going back and forth when I can to Virginia to visit my mom and help to take care of her. Not really help. I've got an amazing brother that's been there. He's from Spain and he's been there for a good while, and he ends up taking care of all of us when we go visit. But I've been going to Virginia and coming back, and then when I got back, the Zino Pro was here, and it is sitting over here in a corner along with everything else that needs to go on my channel, and I'm not opening it up. I've got a 3D printer. I've got the Zino Pro. I have two cases, a new case for the Zino. I have actually I opened that, a new case for the Fimi X8 SE. That's from Drone Pit Stop. I reached out to them a little while back and asked them for a case for the Zino to try out, and then I told them that they really should make one for the Fimi, and they didn't know how popular that was. So after doing some research, they found out that was a very popular quad, and they made a case for that. I love the Drone Pit Stop cases, so they're sending me that stuff, and everything's just sitting in a box. So I am not pulling the Zino Pro out of the box, and the next thing I'll have coming in November is the Skydio 2, and it's probably going to go sit right in that corner with everything else. Because the minute I open it, I'm going to try to dive into it and try to get the stuff on my channel, and I just don't have the time for it. Any free time that I have, whenever I do channel content, it's usually when I have my days off, and any free time I have, I'm trying to get home to Virginia to be with my mom, and my brother has to go back to Spain tomorrow, so I need to get there more often as much as possible. And so most likely I'll be starting to take some days off work here and spending more time in Virginia. And I always take my quads with me when I go to Virginia, but so far I've yet to do anything with them just because the mood's not right. And obviously there's more important things, just spending time with my mom and soon helping take care of her. So I hope I don't disappoint anybody, but I think you can understand. If you know me, I'm going to go full tilt when I open up that Zino Pro and do range tests. The first thing I imagine I'll do is a range test out some things, and then I'm going to open it right up and we're going to compare it to the insides of the regular Zino and see what all is different, like the cooling fan and what hardware differences there are and stuff like that. So if I open it and I can't do those things, it's going to really drive me crazy. And it's best if it just sits over there with the 3D printer and everything else. I'm really anxious to get that 3D printer going. But like I said, if I open it, I'm going to be forced to do it just because my need to address that will kick in, and it's better just leave it out of sight, out of mind in the box. So we're not going to do the Zino Pro till I'm ready and I can go full tilt at it. So I don't know exactly when that'll be. I haven't put any new content on my channel. I put the couple Skydio 2 things on there. Those are their videos that they gave me permission to use. And the last thing I did was like October 15th, which was just another Zino live, but I haven't done any content where I'm out flying or anything like that. So I don't know when that's going to happen. So I hope everybody sticks with me, and I'm actually very amazed at how my channel's been growing with me doing absolutely nothing. So I really thank everybody for the support. It wasn't long ago I announced that I was so close to 4,000 viewers. I don't think it was more than 2 weeks ago, and now I'm getting closer to 4,500 viewers. So I think I'm at 4,300 right now. So any of you watching right now that don't subscribe, please hit that subscribe button, and all of you better be hitting that like button. I see 34 people in the room, 14 likes. That's just not acceptable. So hit that thumbs up button. Let me go through, since I talked about the Zino Pro, and see what you guys are saying here. Dennis, no, I change parts, and I do have parts. I have changed boards and cameras and things like that. There's lots of hardware parts I've changed. So I do actually have a stock of parts. A lot of them are used, but they do work. And in the beginning, if you recall, I did take some returns. I was fortunate to where I was able to get some Zino returns, and some of those were perfectly fine Zinos with very small problems. So that's where I got the hardware from. But thanks to some people who donate their quads, like the person did from Ireland, I end up with more parts that way, and it just helps somebody else, because I'm not going to charge for those parts. If I have them, they're yours. Dennis, if there's something you need, let me know. Or if you want to send it to me whenever I do have time, I'd be more than happy to look at it. But maybe I need to get, before I take any more new ones on, maybe I need to get all these other ones out and have a clean slate. Thank you for understanding my priorities. And that is, I mean, I don't suspect anybody would be upset that I'm not doing the Zino Pro, because everybody else that's getting it's going to be putting it out there. My videos aren't anything special, other than when I start doing my videos of how to fix things, because that's pretty much what my channel's based on. And I'm not the Zino guru or the Zino king, but I like that stuff, and that's what I focus on, versus just giving you flight videos all the time. So the big thing with the Zino is the big range change. So obviously I will be flying it first, but I do appreciate everybody for understanding. Mike Kenny, did Drone Pit Stop put the drone logo on the outside of the case? I'm very glad that you said that. I do have, where did I put my Zino one? I'm not going to grab it, but they don't have the logo on the Zino one that I have, but they did update me and tell me, and they even commented on my profile. They are adding the logo. So for the Zino, if you go to Amazon and you see it advertised without the logo, they said that means that they still have just that in stock. Once that stock depletes, they're going to stock Amazon up with the one that has the logo on the front of it. And that's the logo of the quad and says Drone Pit Stop. So they do have them, but they're not stocked yet. So if you want one that has that directly or has that on it, you might want to contact them. But if I recall, what they've told me is it won't be until they sell out their old stock on Amazon. So you might want to just keep checking Amazon. And when you see the advertised picture for it with that actual logo on the case, then that's what you're going to get. They've assured me that they will change it once they have the They will change that profile picture once they have the logo on it, and what you see is what you will get. So right now they're not misleading anybody. They still have the case with no logo on there because they have not depleted their stock. And then the same goes for the FIMI X8 SE. I've asked them that if they're having their logo on that, and they said yes. So I don't know if it hasn't even been released yet. They just came out with it. So they said they're going to send me one, and they sent me one, and it's yet to be determined if it has that logo on it. That I should actually open up and check, because that's not a big deal, but I need to do a video for their cases just to show people. But to answer your question, yes, it will have the logo eventually, but right now it does not. And we're at 41 minutes here. Gonna wrap it up soon. And thank you guys again for all the great comments and for all the understanding, the prayers and everything. It means a lot. And, you know, I'm all over the place. You know, sometimes I want to put content out, but I'm just not in the mood. You get into states of depression and things like that. And so just knowing that people are still supporting me, still subscribing to my channel, just, you know, they're waiting for when I do put content out. I really do appreciate that. And I was a little disappointed I didn't see a comment from my brother. I know he's watching. And I'm going to wrap it up, I think. And if my brother's watching, that means my mom's watching. So, Mom, if you're watching, I love you. And hopefully going to see you here soon. And that's all I'll say, because I'll get too emotional. Rodrigo, you say my videos have fixed your problem with your gimbal. I love hearing that. Anything I put out and I hear that it fixed your problem, that's the whole purpose. The number one purpose of my videos is usually fix and repair type stuff to support you and help you guys get your quads back up in the air. So when I hear that something I did solved your problem, I love to hear that. Always comment in a video if anything I've done has helped you. That's what drives me to continue doing it. My kids are grown up. One's moved out to Ohio. I got 2 in college, so I'm an empty nest, and this is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing. So this is how I kill my time. And if it's fixing your quads here in my home or making videos on how to do it, that's what I do. And hearing that it actually helped you, I really, really like to hear that. So I've had my Zino 1 month, and the log shows 12 flights flown from the box. All good. It's my first drone. Yeah, that's nice to hear when somebody still has their first drone, because the Zino, I do recommend it to people as a first drone, but I do that assuming everybody's paying attention and learning before they fly it. And a lot of people actually end up just crashing them right away. So it's always nice to hear that somebody still has theirs if it's their first drone. So, Jaybird, does this apply to the Pro also? What, the fix? I wouldn't know. I mean, so far there's been nothing to fix on the Pro. I haven't seen anybody that's got one. I haven't seen them say it doesn't work. I haven't seen anybody say they have no Wi-Fi signal. I haven't seen anybody say they have a gimbal problem. It's very early on. They've just started rolling into people's homes. And I imagine hopefully people are taking their time with them, not just sending them straight on out to see if they'll do 4,000 meters, which I'm dying to do. So that's killing me not to do it, but I just can't right now. Someone is claiming the first US flight with a Pro on YouTube. Dennis, do you have a link for that? I haven't seen that one. Well, maybe I have. I've tried to see as many as I can. I'd like to see the first range flight other than what Hubsan put out. Yeah, post me the link to that, Dennis, or send me a message and give it to me that way. I don't care. I'd like to see it. And hopefully people are going to put out some good reviews, actually doing range flights and things that really matter and that are important. Because let's face it, when you order your Zino Pro, this is all you're getting. I mean, you've got the exact same quad. I don't have my black one in front of me, but there's no difference. The only difference is it says Pro up here on top. The only difference is you've got some different hardware that's all inside. We know it's nothing groundbreaking or earth shattering. It's what is required to let this thing get more range. I imagine it allows for the hardware allows for us to get a better Wi-Fi signal to where you can get out further, but they didn't upgrade the battery. So 4,000 meters is probably a stretch. It's debatable. Some people say do the mathematical figures and say it will just make it. I sometimes come back with my Femi or my Parrot on 0% battery, so I'm willing to test that out and see if I can do it. So when the time comes, I'm going to push it as far as I can and come back on as close to a depleted battery as I possibly can. See if I can get 3,000 or 4,000 meters, but I don't myself. I don't think it's going to happen. But there's no upgrade in the battery. So the only other thing is you've got a cooling fan. I don't think there's anything different with the camera. It's all new firmware. You can't mix the Zino firmware with the Zino Pro firmware. So we don't even know, there could be bugs. It could be lesser camera quality. We do know Hubsan has a good reputation for messing things up when it comes to firmware updates. They've done pretty good with the Zino, but if you remember camera version 0.3.8, that was a back step. So when they changed the bit rate, that messed things up. And also people upgrading to that now are losing Wi-Fi, whether that be user experience or an actual flaw, I don't know. So you can't improve the signal more than its advertised 1,000 meters. You can get more. I've gotten as high as 1,300 meters. But that's on a perfect day in a perfect place in a perfect condition. You have no Wi-Fi interference. When I fly out at my reservoir that I go to, those are the perfect conditions. I can get further range when I'm out there versus some other places. Some people might be using Wi-Fi repeaters, to boost that a bit. I have not tried that or done that. So, but those would be the types of things I would try to extend that 1,000 meters. We've got good old Pete Martin. You guys know how much I love Pete Martin. I love him about as much as a hemorrhoid, but you've got him who he likes to do his videos where he shows how far it goes. Now, I think he got 1,008. I think he got 1,800 meters. But yet he won't tell you how he did it. And I don't know if anybody knows his YouTube channel. It's not under Pete Martin, but he goes by Peter Martin or Pete Martin. But on his channel, it's like Rand an hour or something like that. I don't know what it is. But he shows where he does long range, but he doesn't tell anybody how he does it. He loves to sit there and do stuff like that, but not help you in any way. So that's the furthest one I know of, but I'm not sure how he did it. And he's pretty much an antenna expert and understands that fully. He's a very smart guy, but he's a complete ass. and waste of space as far as I'm concerned. So if you're doing that kind of stuff and you're not helping people, you're just a waste of time for me. So if you watch his videos, just make sure you go thumbs down on that, because he's not gonna educate you or inform you too much. He likes to hold that all to himself. So and he's a big fan of mine, though. He loves me, but I can't stand him. Yeah, Mike Kinney. That's exactly probably what he's using, is some sort of a Wi-Fi repeater. Now he's got a video out. I'm going on way long here. We're almost an hour, but he's got one video where he does long range, short range, does a whole bunch of different stuff. And, the reason he's doing these is because everybody talks in these Facebook groups, and it drives him insane when he hears people say that the Zino is range restricted. So he goes and makes up a video like this. But the one thing he doesn't show you, he does not show you his controller. You don't see what's connected to the controller. You don't see what's connected to his device. He may have a repeater hooked up. He might have some sort of a ground station set up that is allowing him to get the range. If anybody can get the range, he can. Because like I said, despite my feelings for the guy, he's very smart. He's smart in that way. He's just really people stupid, but he's very smart that way. And not only that, he's in love with the Hubsan Zino, just like he was the Hubsan 501A. So that's all he does, is fly those. So he knows them very well for that type of stuff. Mechanically, I don't think he's very, very good mechanically. He's one of those guys that's very head smart, but doesn't know what to do with his hands when you put tools in them. So a lot of insults going his way. I imagine I'll get some sort of ammo back at me here soon. Something very inappropriate that he likes to do by making pictures or something on his cute videos. But yes, probably a Wi-Fi repeater. That's it. I don't see anything else. I'm probably boring you guys by now, but going this long and having 39 people in the room or watching, that's pretty impressive by my count, and 27 thumbs ups is still just unacceptable. You better hit that thumbs up. You can close your live chat for a second, hit that thumbs up, and then reopen your live chat. Just a little tip, just to help you out there. I'm just kidding, guys. So that's it. Hopefully this helps. Again, the main focus on this going live was it's just much easier just to do it live instead of do something and edit it and all that and add my intro and everything. But hopefully this helps some people. I hope to see some comments once this is saved on YouTube. I hope to see some comments that what I just explained in the files I'm going to provide. I hope that helps you. If you need any firmware like flight control, old flight control firmware, old gimbal firmware, just shoot me a message and I'll add that link as well. I should have all of them. There's some just to stay away from that I will not share a link to, and it's usually what happened between 3.4 to 3.8. Those packages that came with those, that's pretty much what is going to resolve your issue, if it is something that will resolve your issue. So on that, I'm going to end it, and just going to read these very last final ones. Thank you guys. Right now, she's an incredible woman. She's keeping her weight on, and she's eating good, and she has good days and bad days, I'm sure, like anybody would, but for the most part, she's awesome. So just taking what was dealt one day at a time and taking it from there. That's it. Everybody just saying hi, bye, all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up here. Thanks again, everybody, for coming and watching. And like I said, all the links will be under the video in the description, and leave your comments if this has helped you in any way. And if there's anything you can tell me that might help me get further with the one that is stuck on 034, that would be great. I've tried everything under the sun that I can think of. I've thrown every piece of firmware at it. I've done everything I can think of. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a hardware issue. And that might be the firmware he had on it, and then when he upgraded, lost it. So can't get a whole lot of history out of it, but that's all I think it is. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream on that note. And again, thanks everybody. And if you have watched this video just now in the stream and or come across it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for future content, and be ready for when I do come at you with the Zino Pro, because we know it's going to have some problems. We know there's going to be some goofy little quirks with it, and you know I'm going to make those videos and put them out there. So subscribe, hit the bell, and hit that like. And thanks again, everybody. Take care.